Commander Jake Sullivan stood rigid on the observation deck of the vast galactic council station, his gaze fixed on the serene visage of Kepler 442b rotating gracefully below. Through the thick, reinforced glass, the planet seemed tranquil, almost idyllic. Yet Jake was acutely aware of the tension simmering beneath this facade. This station, a hub of power for 12 alien civilizations governing the galaxy, was currently the stage for deliberations that could determine humanity's fate. Dressed in his sharpest military attire, Jake felt dwarfed by the alien figures towering over him as they passed through the corridors. Some were twice his size, with 4 muscular arms, while others resembled colossal insects, their jointed limbs producing a faint clicking sound. A few creatures shimmered with ever-shifting hues as they moved. To them, Jake appeared less an equal and more an anomaly, a stray pet wandering through halls meant for giants. Ambassador Lisa Grant approached, her stern demeanor softened by exhaustion. A seasoned diplomat in her 50s, she had spent the last decade advocating for humanity's rights within this alien-dominated council. Today, her features betrayed a rare weariness. "They're ready for us," she murmured. "Jake, no matter what happens in there, keep quiet and let me handle it." Jake nodded, though compliance didn't come naturally. As a former admiral in Earth's Defense Force, he was accustomed to command, not deference, but he trusted Lisa implicitly. She understood these extraterrestrials better than anyone. The duo proceeded down a corridor with crystalline walls that pulsed faintly, as though alive. The towering ceiling seemed to stretch into infinity, amplifying the station's intent to diminish any human presence. It worked. Jake felt inconsequential beneath its grandeur. The council chamber was a spectacle of architectural and technological marvels. 12 floating platforms encircled the vast room, each uniquely designed to accommodate its alien occupants' physiology. At the center lay a modest space where human representatives were expected to stand, diminutive before their towering judges. High Counselor Vexathera presided over the assembly, his reptilian form cloaked in robes encrusted with gemstones. Standing over 7 feet tall, his piercing yellow gaze locked onto Jake and Lisa as they entered. His voice rumbled like boulders grinding together. "Humans," Vexathera began, his tone dripping with disdain. "For 150 years we have observed your species. We have generously granted you territories on the outer rim, permitted your mining of asteroids, and allowed you to cultivate barren worlds. Your presence in this galaxy is a concession." Lisa stepped forward, her expression composed. "Counselor, humanity is grateful for the Council's assistance. We have honored every agreement." "Honored?" interrupted another alien, a towering mantis-like being with glistening carapace and 6-segmented limbs. "You had no choice. Your technology is primitive, your weapons laughable." Ripples of alien laughter echoed throughout the chamber, though. The sounds varied wildly, chittering, hissing, metallic hums. Jake's fists clenched reflexively, but he kept his arms rigidly at his sides. Bexther, a metallic being resembling a living statue, raised a clawed appendage for silence. "This brings us to the matter at hand. The Taiti system harbors substantial reserves of dark matter, a resource far too volatile for an undeveloped species such as yours. You will vacate the system within 30 standard days." Jake's pulse quickened. The Taiti system was home to 5 human colonies, housing over 2 million people. Generations of settlers had cultivated a thriving community there. Abandoning it was unthinkable. Lisa's tone remained steady. "Counselor, the Taiti system has been a human settlement for 40 years. These are established colonies with families, schools, and infrastructure. We cannot simply evacuate." "You will," snapped another alien, its metallic skin shimmering, "like liquid mercury." Dark matter mishandled could obliterate entire star systems. Primitive species cannot be entrusted with such perilous power. What of the colonists? Lisa pressed, her calm demeanor beginning to crack. BX's maw parted, revealing rows of jagged teeth in what might have been a grin. They will be relocated to work camps on the outer rim, where they will mine asteroids and cultivate food for advanced species. Consider it a privilege. Jake's stomach churned. Work camps, an insidious euphemism for slavery. The council was discussing the enslavement of 2 million humans as if they were reallocating cargo. And if we refuse? Lisa asked, her voice taut with suppressed fury. The mantis alien's mandibles clicked ominously. Then corrective action will be taken. Your fleets are insignificant, your colonies defenseless. We could render every human world to glass within a single cycle. The walking tree-like alien, its countless eyes glinting with malice, let out a low, rumbling laugh. It would hardly be worth the fuel, it said, its voice creaking like ancient timber. Humans fighting us would be like insects challenging a hurricane. The chamber erupted in cruel laughter once more, the echoes of their amusement reverberating off the crystalline walls. Jake Sullivan clenched his jaw as he watched the counselors mockingly debate the destruction of his people. To them, humans weren't individuals. They were nuisances, disposable and insignificant. The realization stung, but it also fanned a simmering fury within him. High Counselor Vexathera stood tall on his floating platform, his gaze fixed on Jake and Lisa. "You have 30 days to begin evacuation of the Tieti system," he declared, his voice final. "Any humans found in the system after that will be considered criminals, interfering with council mining operations. This meeting is over." Lisa bowed slightly, her diplomatic facade intact despite the tension in her posture. "We will need time to discuss this with our government," she said evenly. "Discuss all you like," Vexathara sneered, waving a jeweled hand dismissively. "The decision has been made. Guards will escort you to your ship." As they exited the chamber, Jake could hear the counselors' mocking laughter trailing. Behind them, one alien casually mused about using humans as laborers in asteroid mines, while another speculated on human survival rates in methane-rich environments. They were treating the enslavement of millions like a routine logistical problem. Back on their cramped diplomatic vessel, Lisa wasted no time. She began recording a detailed report to send to Earth, her words clipped and professional but tinged with urgency. Jake took his seat at the communication station, encoding every fragment of their grim encounter, every threat, every demeaning joke about human suffering. As Jake worked, his mind wandered to his sister and her 3 kids back on Earth. He thought of the families in the Tieti colonies, people who had spent decades building a future that was now on the brink of obliteration. To these aliens, humanity wasn't even worth consideration as equals. They were nothing more than tools, disposable once their usefulness ran out. The message finally finished encoding, and Jake sent it hurtling through the vastness of space, toward Earth. In a few hours, humanity's leaders would know the full scope of the threat they faced. But as Jake stared out at the stars, he couldn't shake the lingering thought. What would Earth do? Earth's military was woefully outmatched by the Council's advanced fleet. Everyone knew that. But 3 months ago, Jake had received a peculiar message from Dr. Ben Carter, an eccentric scientist back on Earth. Carter's questions about the Council's military systems and ship designs had seemed oddly specific at the time. Jake had chalked it up to scientific curiosity then, but now he wasn't so sure. Could Earth have been preparing for this? Jake's mind clung to the possibility as a flicker of hope. Humanity might not be as defenseless as these aliens believed. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Dr. Ben Carter paced his underground laboratory. The message from Commander Sullivan had arrived 3 hours ago, and Carter had watched the recording 5 times. Each viewing only deepened his anger. The aliens' casual disdain for humanity infuriated him. Grabbing his secure phone, Carter dialed a number that connected him to the most powerful office on Earth. "Mr. President," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions churning inside him. "We need an emergency meeting. The aliens have made their move." 2 hours later, Carter stood in the White House Situation Room, the nerve center of Earth's government. Around the table sat the most influential leaders on the planet. At its head was President Helen Moore, a diminutive woman whose unyielding resolve had become legendary. 10 years earlier, during the Mars colony crisis, she had faced down 3 alien battlecruisers armed with little more than defiant words and iron determination. Flanking her were Fleet Admiral Rick Stone, a grizzled veteran whose scarred hands bore testament to his years as a ship engineer, and General Marcus Webb, the commanding force behind Earth's ground troops. Scattered among them were the heads of intelligence, each bringing their expertise to the table. Ben Carter took a breath. This was humanity's last stand, and every word he spoke now could change the course of history. The faint glowing outlines of weapon ports and thruster arrays. The ship exuded a menacing elegance, its presence both awe-inspiring and unsettling. It wasn't just a vessel, it was a statement. Captain Amy Brooks saluted smartly as president. Moore and her entourage stepped onto the docking platform. "Madam President, welcome to the UES Nightfall," she said. Her voice carried the confidence of someone who understood the gravity of her role. Moore nodded. "Captain Brooks, your ship is a marvel. I trust she's as formidable as she looks." Brooks allowed herself a small, proud smile. "You'll see for yourself shortly, ma'am. The Nightfall is equipped with next-generation propulsion, cloaking, capabilities, and weaponry that redefines the term cutting edge." Ben Carter gestured toward the ship's hull as they moved closer. "The Nightfall and her sister ships are built with a quantum weave alloy. It doesn't just absorb light, it actively bends it, making the ship almost impossible to detect visually or on most sensors." Admiral Stone ran his fingers along the cool, smooth surface of the hull. "Impressive. But what about the crew? Do they have the training to handle something this advanced?" "Every crew member was handpicked and has undergone rigorous training for over 5 years, Captain," Brooks replied. "They're the best Earth has to offer." Once aboard the Nightfall, the delegation was escorted to the command center. The bridge was unlike anything they had seen before. It was minimalist, with sleek panels that displayed holographic interfaces, and the crew operated in almost complete silence, their focus unwavering. Brooks stood at the center of the room, where a circular console projected a 3-dimensional map of the solar system. "Shall we demonstrate?" she asked. President Moore gave a curt nod. "By all means." "Engage phase drive," Brooks commanded. The hum of the ship's systems intensified briefly, before settling into an almost imperceptible vibration. On the map, the Nightfall's position flickered and shifted. Within moments, they had traversed a distance that would have taken conventional ships hours to cover. "This is what phase technology allows," Ben explained. "The ship exists partially outside of normal space, bypassing the limitations of traditional propulsion systems." "And the weapons?" General Webb asked, his tone both skeptical and intrigued. Brooks signaled to her weapons officer, who nodded and activated a display showing a small asteroid ahead. "Target acquired," the officer announced. "Fire when ready," Brooks ordered. Pulse of energy emanated from the Nightfall, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in its effect. The asteroid didn't just shatter. It disintegrated into a cloud of particles, reduced to its quantum components in an instant. The room was silent, the enormity of what they had just witnessed sinking in. Admiral Stone broke the silence. "These ships could turn the tide of any war. But if they fall into the wrong hands—" "They won't," Moore interrupted, her tone resolute. "This fleet is Earth's last line of defense and will—" Ensure it remains under our control. Ben Carter nodded. The Nightfall and her sister ships aren't just weapons, they're a declaration. Humanity will not be dismissed or enslaved. If the Council wants a fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. President Moore turned to Brooks. Captain, prepare the fleet. It's time the galaxy learned what humanity is capable of. Fortresses bristling with weapons capable of wiping out entire continents. The fleet was a symbol of the Galactic Council's dominance, a clear message that resistance was not tolerated. High Counselor Vexitharo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eviscerator, a vessel so massive it cast shadows over smaller ships even in the void of space. Send the humans our final ultimatum, he ordered. Inform them that the full might of the Galactic Council is upon them. They have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally or face annihilation. A holographic communication was sent to Earth's leadership. Vexitharo's imposing, reptilian face filled the screens of the human command center. His yellow eyes glinted with malice as he delivered his message. Humans, you have chosen defiance over reason. This is your last chance to surrender. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of every colony and ship within your pathetic borders. Make your choice. Back on Earth, President Moore received the transmission alongside Admiral Stone, General Webb, and Dr. Ben Carter. They watched in silence as Vexitharo's threat concluded, leaving the room heavy with tension. Moore stood, her expression calm but steely. Dr. Carter, is the dark matter fleet in position? Carter nodded. Yes, Madam President. The Nightfall and her sister ships are stationed just outside the Tieti system. Captain Brooks is awaiting orders. Then let's make this clear to the Council, Moore said, turning to her communications officer. Prepare to transmit a response. The message was simple and unyielding. To the Galactic Council, your fleet is welcome to proceed. Know, however, that the outcome will not be what you expect. Humanity will not bow. The Tieti system and all human territories are sovereign and will be defended. You have 24 hours to withdraw. Failure to comply will be met with force. Consider this your only warning. As the message was sent, Moore turned to Admiral Stone. Deploy the fleet. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity is capable of. In the Tieti system, Captain Brooks stood on the bridge of the Nightfall, watching the holographic display as the Council fleet entered human space. The dark matter fleet lay cloaked, undetectable, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Status. Report, Brooks demanded. Enemy fleet is 50,000 kilometers out and closing, Lieutenant Mitchell replied. They're deploying orbital bombardment platforms. Brooks nodded. Hold position. Let them think we're vulnerable. The Council fleet moved into formation, their ships dwarfing the human colonies below. On the Eviscerator, Vexitharo smiled, confident in the inevitable victory. But then something changed. The first human ship phased into visible space behind the Council fleet. Then another, and another. Within moments, the entire dark matter fleet materialized, surrounding the Council Armada. Vexitharo's confidence faltered as alarms blared across his flagship. What is this? He roared. On the Nightfall, Brooks gave the order. Engage! The dark matter fleet moved as one, their ships slicing through space like shadows, their weapons firing beams of pure dark energy. Council ships exploded in flashes of light, their shields and hulls unable to withstand the onslaught. The battle was over before it began. The Council fleet, unprepared for the technological leap humanity had achieved, was decimated. The Eviscerator was the last to fall, its once mighty form disintegrating under the concentrated fire of the dark matter fleet. Back on Earth, the transmission from the Tieti system arrived. The room watched in stunned silence as footage showed the wreckage of the Council fleet, the dark matter fleet unscathed and holding position. President Moore turned to her advisors. Send a final message to the Council. Inform them that humanity is no longer a species to be trifled with. We will defend our people, our colonies, and our future. Vexatharo's declaration echoed through the shelters, reaching Captain Nina Rodriguez and the thousands of hidden colonists. She clenched her fists in anger, the weight of the Council's cruelty pressing down on her. But even as despair threatened to take hold, her earpiece crackled with a secure transmission. "This is Captain Brooks of the UES Nightfall. All colonists are advised to remain in their shelters. Help is on the way." Nina's heart raced. She knew the name of the Nightfall. Rumors of humanity's secret fleet had spread through the ranks, whispered in the shadows. If the fleet was real, they might still have a chance. Above the planet, High Counselor Vexatharo was enjoying his victory when the first anomalies appeared on his sensors. Faint distortions rippled across the fabric of space, like heat waves shimmering in the void. "What is that?" demanded Vexatharo, his voice sharp. The sensor officer on the eviscerator struggled to respond. "Unknown, High Counselor. Scanners are unable to resolve the objects. Wait, we're detecting mass signatures. They're massive." The ripples solidified, and one by one, sleek black ships emerged from the void. They seemed to absorb the light around them, their forms alien even to the most advanced Galactic Council technology. The Nightfall led the formation, followed by 199 other ships, all silently taking position around the Council's fleet. Admiral Keithmore stared at the tactical display, his compound eyes widening. "Impossible," he muttered. "No human ship should be able to evade our scanners like this." Before the Council could regroup, a human voice echoed across all channels. It was Captain Brooks, her tone calm and unyielding. "This is Captain Brooks of the UES Nightfall, commanding the Dark Matter Fleet. You have violated human sovereignty and attacked our colonies. You are hereby ordered to leave this system immediately. Failure to comply will result in your complete destruction." "Hi," Counselor Vexatharo laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "Primitive creatures, your theatrics will not save you. Destroy them!" The Galactic Council ships opened fire, unleashing a storm of energy weapons and missiles. But the human fleet was ready. The dark matter ships phased out of normal space, the alien weapons passing harmlessly through them. Captain Brooks gave her order. "Engage!" The Nightfall fired its main weapon, a beam of dark energy that struck the Void Render head-on. The alien flagship didn't explode. It vanished, erased from existence in an instant. The rest of the human fleet followed suit, their weapons ripping through the Council ships with precision. The dark matter fleet moved like phantoms, phasing in and out of space, striking with devastating force. Admiral Keithmore's flagship was one of the last to fall. His voice, filled with disbelief, crackled over the Council's communication channels. How did they—" His words were cut off as the Void Render disintegrated. On the ground, Nina and the other colonists watched the battle unfold through makeshift monitors. Cheers erupted as one Council ship after another was destroyed. Hope, long dormant, surged anew. In orbit, the wreckage of the Council fleet drifted silently. The Nightfall broadcast a message to the remaining Council forces. "This is your only warning. Humanity will not bow. Retreat now, or face annihilation. High." Counselor Vexatharo, his personal dreadnought heavily damaged, made the call to retreat. The remaining Council ships activated their FTL drives and fled the system. Back on Earth, President Moore received the transmission from Captain Brooks. "The Tidy system is secure. The enemy fleet has been destroyed. The colonies are safe." Moore allowed herself a rare smile. Humanity had not just survived, it had thrived in the face of overwhelming odds. The galaxy had underestimated them, but they would do so no longer. On the bridge of the UES Nightfall, Captain Brooks gave her order. "Phase shift." The human ships shimmered and disappeared from normal space as the alien weapons passed harmlessly through them. Seconds later, the dark matter fleet reappeared, in different positions, unharmed. "Return fire," Brooks commanded. The Nightfall and its fleet unleashed their dark energy weapons. Unlike the aliens' attacks, these didn't explode or cause visible damage. They simply erased. Alien ships, no matter how massive or advanced, vanished upon impact. Admiral Keithmore watched in horror as ship after ship in his fleet disappeared. His tactical officer shouted updates, his voice panicked. "Sector 4 destroyed. Sector 7 completely gone. We've lost 300 ships." Keithmore slammed his claws against the console. "Impossible! Humans cannot do this!" On the ground, Nina Rodriguez and the hidden colonists could see flashes of the battle in the night sky. Each pulse of light marked the annihilation of an alien ship. The children, once crying in fear, began to cheer as the humans fought back. High Counselor Vexatharo, aboard his heavily armored dreadnought, Eviscerator, could scarcely believe the reports flooding his command deck. "How could this happen?" he roared, slamming a fist into a nearby console. A desperate comm officer responded, "High Counselor, these ships are unlike anything we've ever encountered. Their weapons are—" "Silence," Vexatharo interrupted. "Rally the fleet. Crush them with everything we have." But before the Eviscerator could act, the UES Nightfall targeted it. Captain Brooks stood with an air of calm determination. "Bring us within 10 kilometers of their flagship. Let's end this." The Nightfall phased into position, appearing mere kilometers from the massive alien dreadnought. The Eviscerator attempted to fire, but the Nightfall phased again, avoiding every shot. "Fire main weapon," Brooks ordered. A dark energy beam struck the Eviscerator, and for a moment it seemed to resist. But the beam intensified, and with a ripple in space, the flagship of the Galactic Council vanished. The remaining alien ships faltered, their formations breaking. "Broadcast this," Captain Brooks said, her voice cold and firm. "This is Captain Brooks of the UES Nightfall. The Galactic Council's flagship has been destroyed, and your fleet is decimated. You have two choices: retreat now and never return to human space, or be annihilated. Choose wisely." The alien fleet broke ranks, their surviving ships fleeing into hyperspace. On Earth, President Moore and Admiral Stone watched the battle's aftermath on the war room screens. The Teti system was secure, and humanity's colonies, though damaged, would recover. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," President Moore said. "Tell them humanity does not seek war, but we will defend our people. The era of underestimating us is over." In the aftermath, the galaxy would remember the Battle of Teti not as a defeat for humanity, but as the day they stood tall against impossible odds. And for the Galactic Council, it was a bitter lesson. The primitive species they had mocked had the power to reshape the very fabric of war and their place in the stars. On board the Nightfall, Captain Brooks received reports from across the dark matter fleet. The alien ships were disorganized, panicking, and attempting to regroup. "Status?" she asked Lieutenant Commander Mitchell. "Their fleet is down to 300 ships and falling. No sign of reinforcements." "They're trapped, Captain," Mitchell replied. Brooks opened a channel to the remaining alien ships. "This is Captain Brooks of the UES Nightfall. Your fleet is outmatched, your weapons are ineffective, and your retreat is blocked. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated with the dignity of prisoners of war. Refuse, and you will cease to exist. You have 1 minute to decide." Admiral Keithmore's bridge was in chaos. Officers shouted conflicting orders, and alarms blared as ship after ship vanished from existence. He knew the humans' ultimatum was no bluff. "We can't win this," his tactical officer said, trembling. Keithmore stared at the screen, where the alien fleet's numbers dwindled by the second. With a growl of defeat, he opened a channel to the human fleet. "This is Admiral Keithmore of the Galactic Council fleet. We surrender." High Counselor Vexatharo's ship was one of the last to remain. Watching Keithmore's surrender, he realized His pride had led the Council into a catastrophe. Humanity, once considered a petulant, primitive species, had turned the tide of galactic power in a single battle. "Transmit our surrender," he ordered bitterly. The Teti system fell silent as the battle ended. Humanity had achieved the impossible. The most powerful fleet in the galaxy had been defeated without losing a single ship. President Moore watched the conclusion of the battle from Earth. She turned to Admiral Stone. "The galaxy will never look at humanity the same way again." "No, ma'am," Stone replied, "but they'll think twice before underestimating us." Moore nodded. "Send a message to the Council. Let them know their fleets are to retreat from all human territories. The era of subjugation is over. If they refuse, well, they know what we're capable of now." The Galactic Council's response was one of shock and horror. Humanity's display of power reshaped the political landscape of the galaxy. Once seen as a minor species, humanity was now a force to be reckoned with, an equal, if not a superior, power. And for the survivors of Taeti, like Nina Rodriguez and her fellow colonists, it was a day of hope and rebirth. Humanity had not just survived, it had thrived, proving that the spirit of resistance could overcome even the mightiest oppressors. That humanity won't change its mind? What if your leadership becomes corrupt as ours did? President Moore's hologram nodded solemnly. "A fair question. Our guarantee is transparency and mutual oversight. The new Galactic Parliament will not be a human-dominated body. Every species, including humanity, will be subject to the same rules and held accountable by the collective will of all members," Ambassador Grant added. "We will also share portions of our dark matter technology, under strict guidelines, with any species willing to contribute to peaceful development and mutual defense. This ensures no single faction can rise unchecked, including humanity," the room murmured with cautious optimism. These were not the words of conquerors, but of partners seeking reconciliation. High Counselor Vexathara, still seated, stared into the hologram of President Moore. His voice was quieter, devoid of the arrogance that once defined him. "If this is a genuine offer, it will change the galaxy in ways we cannot yet imagine. But if it is a deception, the consequences will be catastrophic." President Moore leaned forward slightly, her gaze unwavering. "We are not deceiving anyone, High Counselor. We are offering a chance to heal, rebuild, and move forward as equals. But make no mistake, humanity will defend itself and its allies. Any aggression will be met with the same resolve you witnessed at Taeti." The Mantari representative clicked his mandibles again. "Then let us proceed with this. Parliament. But know this, we will be watching closely." In the weeks that followed, the first session of the Galactic Parliament was convened on a newly constructed neutral space station orbiting a star at the center of the galaxy. Delegates from every known species gathered to draft a charter that would govern interstellar relations. Humanity's representatives worked tirelessly to ensure fairness, leveraging their newfound respect and influence to encourage unity. Back on Earth, President Moore addressed her people in a broadcast seen across every human colony and ship. "Today, humanity stands at the forefront of a new era. We were underestimated, attacked, and nearly destroyed, but we rose from the ashes stronger than ever. Now, we lead not with weapons, but with wisdom and resolve. Together, with our allies, we will forge a galaxy where every voice is heard and every life has value." Cheers erupted worldwide and on every colony. Humanity had proven its strength, but more importantly, its character.